Mississippi, so check my store. So.
The Boys and Girls Club would love to have either of you speak at our Youth of the Year dinner.
Well, consider it done.
Excuse me. Are you family? Shoot her in the head and let's take the drugs. She got Annex, 2 bottles of codeine, something. Look. We ain't gotta worry about the meth for a couple days. We can sell a few of these motherfuckers and get $8 a pop.
Like, once we start to let go of who we believe that we are, then that's when you start to open up to who you're actually supposed to be. I try to carve out at least 30 minutes of meditation every morning. It don't always happen.
Wow, that's great.
But I do shower every day. And when I'm in the shower, that's a quiet place, and that's when I get like my best ideas. Yeah, so that's a little bit more difficult because you also, at that point, you have to weed out, I guess, your previous traumas and judgment of yourself and other people. Like, you have to get away from that, right, to get to the point where when you do have that quiet moment with yourself.
Well, Abraham Hicks talks about this. Because if you could do it with small things, you can work your way up in the larger things. It's mainly about knowing that what you think about, what you want, has already been established in the universe, and that we have to align our energy to that and allow that energy to flow into our lives. And it sounds easy, but with practice it is easy, and it gets easier. That's why Abraham Hicks talks about trying the small things first. And it's also patience. It's forgiveness, mainly for you, because you're the one on the journey, and we tend to be our biggest critics. So every single time we criticize what we've thought of, what we've dreamed of accomplishing, we kind of go backwards. We take a step back. We don't go towards the goal. We go away from it. And I've learned that the more negative we think about ourselves is the furthest we are away from our spirit. Speaking in present terms. So even though we might wish something, it's already done. We just have to reveal it to ourselves. So we're living in the present, but when we think of things in the future, that's actually already occurred. Weird concept, right? But it's already occurred, so we're constantly behind because our thoughts give life to what we already want. So it already is.
Right. The decisions that I make now, sometimes I have anxiety that, is this a decision that I'm supposed to be making? Like, is this the path that I'm supposed to be taking to get me to the path I'm supposed to be?
And that anxiety is a separation from your spirit.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. And sometimes it's also not having information or knowledge. So I feel as if I don't know something, I dig a little bit deeper, and then I educate myself on it. So it's not something that I'm guessing at or don't believe, but anxiety is actually real. I go through it too, and I have to just talk to myself.
That's where it gets tricky, because when you're making these decisions, it's like sometimes it don't seem like this is correct, but then it's like when you make the decision, things just fall into place. And when you're going the wrong way, it's like constant drama.
Yeah, I also think that we always ask for change in our lives. And with that change, nothing can stay the same. So it's our resistance to that change that creates a lot of drama. Because we're so used to things remaining the same.
Stepping out of your comfort zone.
This is my motto. You must always live your life to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because change cannot happen in comfort.
I try to talk to people of color who, especially religious people, highly religious people. There's sort of a resistance to implementing the law of attraction in their lives because I guess they see it as demonic. It's actually interesting because Abraham Hicks, Michael Singer, like Eric Toole, they actually talk about Jesus and they talk about other religious figures. So it's not even like they're anti prophets. It's just the establishment of it, I guess, is the ideals are kind of different. But for me, I realized, like, even the meditation, technically praying can also be meditation, right?
Yeah, sure.
If I was religious, I'm not, but if I was, it's like praying is you're asking for the universe or God what you want. But with the law of attraction, it's just you are now actually believing it. Like you're not waiting for it to happen. Like a lot of people with the law of attraction, not only have you prayed for it, but you're living your life believing that it's going to happen.
Also, I think, which is very different than people think about law of attraction, is focusing on the joy in your life. That's part of law of attraction. It doesn't have to be as specific as I prayed for this, now it's going to happen. It could be just as simple as I enjoy doing this activity in my life because it makes me happy, so I'm just going to continue to do that. And then knowing from that, joy will spill out into every area of your life, not just that one particular activity. I choose to focus on joy because if I focus on the negative things, that only brings more of the negative into my life. But the great thing about law of attraction is I don't have to think about those things. It just comes to me when I focus on joy.
Do the daily gratitude.
My gratitude, I know what you're talking about, like the journal and whatnot, but I wake up and I say, I believe in God. You know, if you don't, perfectly fine, but whatever you believe in, I say, thank you, God, thank you, Lord. I have my pillow, Him for waking me up. Actually, say, I love you, Tonya. I'm selfish when it comes to loving me. I should be. So should everybody else, because nobody else is going to love you like you do. My mom taught me unconditional love.
Another obstacle a lot of us have to deal with is being selfish with loving ourselves.
A lot of us choose to put on other people to make us happy. But in essence, it's us that needs to truly make ourselves happy. Otherwise, we really can't love or be happy without investing and putting on someone else that happiness. And that's a lot to put on somebody. We're human, so they're going to let us down every single time.
Every single time.
Every time.
True. Then we looking at them, man, like.
I'm like, you did that.
Nah, you gotta do that for yourself.
Yes. And I'm human. I get it. I've been guilty of the same things, but I correct it.
Yeah,
and I forgive myself.
So I was like, we might do that because they were my best friend, and then when they went to high school, they best friends. So then we became best friends. Usually that don't happen because usually I'm very jealous with my best friend.
Wow.
But we connected instantly.
Yes. There's no jealousy. Look, I don't own anybody.
I be owning people. I know. I need to stop that. But another thing I wanted to talk about is in this environment, when like the group I just had before this, that was a video conference for a higher consciousness and stuff, was all white people. I forgot his name. There is one black man that always talks about law of attraction. He's actually been doing it for a long time. I think before these other people. He has a church in California called Agape, Church of Agape. The only black man I've found. So I've had, like, even I was in another group and I brought this, was coming up, and the girl commented like, well, you know, yeah, I wish I could have law of attraction like about white privilege or things like that. Which I understand.
Michael Beckwith. Someone said Michael Beckwith.
Yes, that's who it is. Oh, hey, Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. That's real. It is easier for white people to reach this higher consciousness because it is easier for them, right, to ignore the constant stuff that we get that doesn't get thrown at them like it gets thrown at people of color. I feel like we have to work a little bit harder to work on that constant happiness, constant gratitude. Because
we've been doing it throughout time. You know, especially if you want to go back to 1440 when slavery started. There's just been a lot of different things that we've had to block out, obstacles that other groups of people have not had to block out. So yeah, I mean, I completely understand you with that. We've succeeded through it all. So this is why I think, even though you might not see us in manifestation groups or law of attraction groups, we do it naturally. We've done it naturally. We've gone through so much and succeeded in spite of. And we've been comfortable living uncomfortably. All right, I'm just saying, there's been a lot that we've been going through as a race that we've accomplished without someone instructing us in a group called Law of Attraction, or even going to an Abraham Hicks seminar that might cost a lot of money.
Right.
We've just done it. We've been survivors from the very beginning.
Right.
We've built from nothing, from zero. We've done it when everything has been taken away from us. We've done it time and time again. That, to me, is true manifestation, true law of attraction.
That's beautiful, Tonya. I didn't think about it like that.
That's why I said we might have a different opinion, but we could come together.
Right. Yeah. And even because that's something that I honestly had grappled with too, how expensive it is to go to these conferences.
Very.
And it kind of separates the privileged from the non-privileged, and that's why I'm hoping with this I can get the message out more to people who can afford things like that. But even so like my best friend that is in a really hard situation, lots of kids and stuff like that, like it's hard for me to be like, yeah, you got to go meditate for 30 minutes. Like, where's she going to have time to meditate with 6 kids? So I remember she came back to me and she told me she tries to find like pockets and moments of time to like have her own quiet space, and also being more having more gratitude for what you do have, build on that. So
yeah,
it's just you have to, I guess, talk to people where they are, right? Just like kind of deliver the message to them in a different package. But it's absolutely.
Yes, I mean, not everything is going to look the same to everyone. And not all of our experiences are the same. You know, you might have come from a different place than I've come from. But we can find similarities within our lives where we've overcome something. We do that on a daily basis, a weekly basis. We might not just know what to call it. We don't know that we did it because we're not consciously looking at it like that. It is law of attraction. It is manifestation. Success is manifestation. Getting what you want is part of law of attraction. And when you start to kind of see everything for what it is, you can start to plan out a lot more. You can manifest more on purpose and not by mistake.
So, Tonya,
it's so great to have people around the world. Argentina, New York right now.
I'm in New York right now.
Certain projects may bring me to California, but right now I'm in New York.
Okay. And before I showed your acting reel, you gotta update that because now the Politician is my show. You was on The Politician on Netflix. You on HBO.
Did you see the HBO one? Did you show that one?
Another reel, because that wasn't on that reel, I don't think. Okay. So
yeah, the one that I updated in June of this year.
Okay. This year. Yeah. So that was incredible, and I just love like how the stuff that you're a part of, the projects are like amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Tonya, anytime she posts, she always says, "I am light and I am rising." And so
Hashtag so are you.
And I feel that. So I guess no one has questions or comments.
No, it's so fluent. What is Fluent's real name? What's your first name?
Natisha. You know her.
What is it? Wait, what's the first name again?
Natisha.
Natisha, yeah, she's a beautiful spirit. She's got some beautiful, she's a beautiful, she makes masks, she makes dresses, so creative.
Yeah, and she just started teaching herself how to sew.
See? She manifested what she wanted.
She did. She honestly did. I remember when she first came to me with her idea, she was like, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm like, oh yeah, just do it. Get it done. Jamel said, love Tonya's energy. Voice is so calm, easy to listen to. I know.
Oh, thank you.
When I'm like having a breakdown, I'll call Tonya and she'll get me right together.
I didn't even know I did that.
I know, but you know what though? You do, and you're very direct too at the same time. Right? Like, no, hey, this is what you need to do. Like, you're doing way that's not like,
Well, I figure we all want the truth, right?
Yes. Yes, I think that's very important, especially the people that you have around you.
Yes.
That's something I've realized I'm holding on to dearly, is making sure I have people around me that are honest and truthful.
Yes.
No matter how bad.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And look at Kiana. She has a question.
Are there any approaches to collective manifestation, working in community to manifest?
I believe there are.
Community manifesting too. Like I do my vision board workshops. Plug. That's another way. Get your friends together.
You do. You have great events.
Thank you.
You
Yeah, and I think that's a great way, because it's like so much good energy with that too. But it can be overwhelming for people in the beginning, of course. But once you get to the point where I think we all really know what we want. We're just very conflicted with other things, right?
This is what Abraham Hicks talks about. Yeah.
It's like, have a topic, put in Abraham Hicks, and see what have an answer to your question. That's how wise he spreads.
Yeah. And I think that we're conflicted because what we want is not even clear. So if we get very specific in what we want, that's when the conflict will tend to go away. But we tend to want something, and then we say, but do I want this too? Or maybe I want that. We don't really stick to what we want. And to our defense, we are constantly thinking and dreaming of new things and new goals. So this is where conflict might come in, because everything is always evolving. We have so much going on within our spiritual realm, that we're constantly creating. It doesn't just stop with one goal. And in fact, with manifestations, they say the joy is in the journey and not so much in the manifestations. As soon as you manifest, you have another goal. It's constantly churning. There's no end to it. So why not just enjoy the journey towards the manifestation? You learn so much along the way.
That's so true. And I feel that people who quickly are trying to achieve these goals, I think that's why you see so many people who are successful or who are rich, but they really have a lot of issues, is because they never enjoy the process or had gratitude along that process, or they put too much energy, I guess, into the end goal instead of the journey that it took to get there, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you once you get to where other people think you're successful, because success is different for everybody. I find people who are more at peace with themselves, like they're not even really into all the material stuff and all that other stuff. That's why because there's so many law of attraction videos and things like that, and the people that focus on the big houses and the money, I know they're full of shit. Because it's not about the big house and the money. Manifesting.
Not to say you can't have it. And there's many people that we all follow in terms of their journey that are successful in their own right, because success is subjective. And they all, from my own experience, talk about law of attraction and manifestation. So it's not just within a small group of people, but if you look at the people who are at where you might want to be, they practice it religiously.
Yeah. I think the first, whoa, for me, I remember Jim Carrey did an interview and he wrote himself a check for $1 million. Have you heard this story?
Yes.
He wrote himself a check for $1 million. I think this was like even before he lived in color, right? Like he was destitute or something.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot what movie it was, and they paid him $1 million for it.
He's done so many, so I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, maybe Dumb. I think it was Dumb and Dumber, because I remember thinking like, damn, you made $1 million.
It could be Dumb and Dumber. That was a very popular film.
Yeah. So, I mean, you hear these stories, like even Steve Harvey, like he has a story about, and it seems it's like to this point where you just put it all on the line. Like they get to this point where they just put it all on the line. They just put their faith in themselves, and you just move in the direction of the goal or the where you want to be, and things just start to fall into place. Then you look back and you're like, holy shit.
Well, for me, in terms of like, I knew what I wanted, and that was my end goal, which of course has led to many different goals. But I knew, and I also asked people if I didn't know something that were already at that end goal. I asked them what they did, and certain things I adopted, and certain things I might not have adopted. But I knew some things were very concrete that I had to do in my life in order to get to that end goal. And that's what I actually stuck by, no matter what. And I knew that I could be patient and wait to reach my goal, because not everything is going to happen overnight. But I knew that I was going to stay in the game for as long as it takes to get to where I wanted to be.
Yes, and that's what's most important, is the patience part. And I feel that separates the people who don't make it, is that they just get to a point where they give up so easily. And it doesn't, especially now, I mean, this generation is this is the now generation, right? Everything's instant, everything's fast. And when you're following people on social media, you're only seeing their end goal. You're not seeing the grind it took for them to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So then people get hung up on where they are. And I always take it back to enjoy the journey, because when you're enjoying the journey, for me, it doesn't feel like it's taking so long. Because I'm enjoying the process as it's happening. I'm appreciating and learning the process as it's happening. So then when it gets to where I got my $1 billion in empire, that I'm prepared for it. I've been happy like this whole way. Like, this is the add-on. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right.
And even with like relationships, I think that's a lot of problem. People want instant gratification with that, and I realize relationships is a process.
It is, absolutely. And we're actually learning along our journey things that are going to help us when we get to the end goal. So if we don't learn those things, can you imagine the mistakes that would be made with the manifestation just coming right away?
Right. Yeah. So it says we only have tickets 10 seconds.
Oh, we're going to get cut off.
Yeah, but Tonya, we're going to do a part 2.
Yes.